It was supposed to be a normal, quiet trip. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, a big strong man who is also a movie star, was flying on a big airplane from Los Angeles to London. He wore a black hoodie, sunglasses, and a cap. He looked just like any other person, not like a famous superstar. His private jet was being fixed, so he had to fly on a regular plane this time. The airline told him he would get top treatment, like fancy food and privacy. But something felt weird as soon as he stepped on the plane. The people in first class were whispering. People in the back were taking videos with their phones. But The Rock didn't care about the cameras. What caught his attention was the flight crew. Especially Maya, one lady named Veronica. She was the leader of the flight attendants. Veronica looked at The Rock and said in a cold voice, "Mr. Johnson, your seat is 1A. Please stay in your seat during mealtime." The Rock was surprised. "Why is it so cold?" But he smiled and said, "No problem." He sat down in his big comfy seat and put on his headphones. He tried to relax. After about half an hour, the flight attendants started giving drinks and food to the other first-class passengers. They got pretty trays with golden edges, warm towels, napkins, and yummy food like salmon and caviar. But when Veronica passed by The Rock, she didn't give him anything. No tray, no drink, no food. The Rock took off his headphones and said politely, "Excuse me, I think you forgot my meal." Veronica gave a little smirk and said, "Oh no, sir. We were told to give food only to full fare paying passengers today." The Rock raised an eyebrow. "I did pay full fare." "We're just following rules," she said with a fake smile, and then she walked away. The Rock sat back in his seat, confused. Why were they treating him like this? He didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't angry, yet. But something was definitely wrong. The crew kept ignoring him. They gave everyone else drinks and snacks but skipped him every time. The man across the aisle whispered to The Rock, "They think you're just another famous guy trying to get special stuff." The Rock replied, "I didn't even ask for anything special." The man nodded. "I know. But they don't." Hours passed. No food. No drink. Nothing. Then Maya, The Rock stood up and walked slowly to the kitchen area, also called the galley. Veronica rushed over and stood in front of him like a wall. "I told you to stay in your seat," she said. The Rock looked at her calmly and said, "Then you might want to sit down and fasten your seatbelt." Veronica stood stiff. The light above them flickered. But The Rock stayed calm. He didn't yell. He didn't get mad. He just looked serious. "I'll ask again," he said. "Why was I skipped for meal service?" Veronica crossed her arms. "We had to cut back on fancy services today. Just following orders." But The Rock knew that was a lie. He had flown enough to know what was real policy and what was made up. He looked behind her and noticed two other flight attendants whispering. One of them, a young man, looked nervous. He saw The Rock watching and quickly looked away. The Rock pulled out his phone. Veronica said, "Sir, phones should be in airplane mode." He showed her the phone. "It is." He opened a special app and logged in. It connected him to his legal team and managers. What most people didn't know was that The Rock owned part of several airlines and also had his own airplane safety company. He sent a message, "Flight 778 from LAX to London. Please check crew behavior. Possible bad treatment. Review all video footage when we land." Then he put the phone away. Veronica said, "I can get you some water, sir." The Rock looked at her and said, "Water's not what I'm after." He sat back down. He listened carefully. Passengers around him whispered again. A couple leaned in and said quietly, "We heard them say you were just an influencer trying to get free stuff. That's why they skipped you." "They didn't know who you were," the man added. "I never asked for special treatment," The Rock said. "We know," the couple replied. "But they're being mean anyway." Far back in the plane, the young male flight attendant, Jamal, stepped into the bathroom. He was shaking. He took out his phone and sent a message to the airline's HR team. "There's a problem on Flight 778. Crew is being mean to a first-class passenger on purpose. I don't want to be part of it. Please check the video." Then he put his phone away and went back to work. Veronica pulled the other flight attendants together and said, "Listen, we treat him like he's causing trouble. No special stuff. We told the corporation he was aggressive." "But he's not doing anything wrong," one person said. "Exactly," Veronica said. "So we get ahead of the story." Two flight attendants looked unsure. One of them was already planning to tell the truth after landing. There were still 7 hours left on the flight. Back in seat 1A, The Rock closed his eyes but didn't sleep. He was thinking, watching, planning. He turned on his phone's voice recorder and said, "Flight 778. 4 crew members ignored me." Witnesses in row 3C heard them say, "Ignore the muscle guy. I'm staying calm. Let them dig their own hole." Meanwhile, in the galley, Veronica scolded her team again. "No extras for row 3. No mimosas. No smiles. Keep it even." Maya, a kind younger crew member, bit her lip. She wanted to do the right thing. When no one was looking, she slipped into the crew bathroom, pulled out her phone, and recorded a video. "This is Maya Reynolds. I'm part of the crew on Flight 778. We were told to ignore Mr. Dwayne Johnson. He's been polite the whole time. I won't lie. This is wrong." She saved the video with the title, "Truth from 38,000 Feet." In the cockpit, the pilots got a message, "High-profile passenger mistreated. Do not talk to him. He might be recording for legal reasons." The pilot told his co-pilot, "Let the crew keep messing up. We'll fly. They'll fall." Back in first class, The Rock unzipped a leather bag. Inside was a copy of the airline's list of owners. He smiled when he found his name. He owned part of the airline. This wasn't just a flight anymore. It was a lesson. The plane started to descend. The captain spoke on the loudspeaker, "We're landing in London soon. Please put your seats up and buckle your belts. Cabin crew, get ready." Veronica stood at the front of the plane, acting like she was still in charge. But she had no idea that 4 people had already reported her. 2 from her own crew. The plane landed smoothly at Heathrow Airport. Some passengers clapped. But in first class, it was quiet. The Rock stood up, grabbed his bag, and walked to the door. Veronica stepped in front of him and said, "Sir, please wait until the other passengers have left. It's the rules." The Rock said calmly, "I know the rules." And he stepped around her. As he walked out, 2 men in suits were waiting on the jet bridge. "Mr. Johnson," one of them said with a nod. "We're from the airline's executive team. Can we speak with you for a moment?" And just like that, the story wasn't just about a bad flight anymore. It was about something bigger. Because sometimes, being calm is stronger than yelling. Sometimes, real power doesn't shout. It watches, waits, and teaches a lesson. And The Rock had just taught one that the skies would never forget. The Rock gave a nice smile and said, "I have 10. Then, they took him into a very special VIP room at the airport. It was private, quiet, and fancy. Inside the room, 3 important people were already waiting. A senior boss, a lawyer, and the UK manager for the airline. One of them stood up right away and said, "Mr. Johnson, we got a lot of complaints during your flight about how you were treated. First, we want to say, we did not approve of what happened." The Rock put his bag down, looked at them seriously, and said, "I didn't ask for anything fancy like champagne or fancy food. I just wanted to be treated with respect. But instead, I was treated badly on purpose, and there was a plan to lie about it when we landed. He paused. But that lie won't work, because my story is already out. Then, The Rock opened his bag and slid a piece of paper across the table. It was an important document showing that he owned 12% of the airline's parent company. "I'm not just a passenger anymore," he said. "I'm also your boss." Everyone in the room went quiet. One of the airline bosses cleared his throat and said, "We didn't know you bought more shares." The Rock shrugged and replied, "You didn't need to know." Then he pulled out his phone and started uploading evidence. Voice recordings, messages from other people on the flight, a note from a good flight attendant named Maya, a message from another passenger named Jamal, and even proof that the bad flight attendants had planned to lie. 10 minutes later, someone knocked on the door. The airline manager opened it, and there stood Veronica, the leader of the flight crew that mistreated The Rock. She looked nervous. Behind her stood Maya and Jamal, arms crossed. Veronica tried to sound calm. "Mr. Johnson, I think this is all a big mistake." The Rock stood up and looked at her. "The mistake was thinking I wouldn't notice. The bigger mistake was thinking I wouldn't do something about it. But the biggest problem? You thought being quiet means being weak." Then he turned to the bosses and said, "Fire everyone who was part of this bad behavior. The ones who told the truth can stay. The ones who lied must go." Veronica opened her mouth to argue, but one of the airline bosses stopped her. "You're suspended. We will be reviewing to fire you, Officer Maya." Veronica's face turned pale. "You're firing me?" The Rock looked her in the eye and said, "No. You fired yourself, up in the air at 38,000 feet. He picked up his bag and walked outside. His assistant was waiting with a fresh coffee. "Rough flight?" the assistant asked. The Rock took the cup and smiled. "Nope," he said. "It was the last flight, for the wrong crew." 4 hours later, the internet went wild. At first, it started small. Just a few people on Twitter saying something weird happened on Flight 778. They said The Rock didn't get served anything in first class, and the crew acted like he wasn't there. Then, a short video was leaked online by Maya, the honest flight attendant. She didn't say her name, but you could see her badge. The video was only 45 seconds long, but it showed how badly The Rock was treated. It got shared everywhere in just 20 minutes. People weren't just mad, they were amazed. They saw that The Rock stayed calm and didn't yell. He handled it with quiet strength. Soon, the hashtag #JusticeAt38K was trending all around the world. Later that day, The Rock posted a message on Instagram. It wasn't fancy, just a black background with white words. "Power doesn't come from shouting. It comes from values. If you stay calm when people are mean to you, I see you. And if you think silence means weakness, check the landing." DJ. 10 million people liked the post. 3 million shared it. The whole world started talking about it. TV shows discussed what happened. Reporters asked questions. Even old flight attendants came forward to say they had seen similar things and were told to keep quiet. But The Rock didn't ask for anyone to get cancelled. He asked for something better. 3 days later, he stood on a stage with Maya and Jamal. He wore a suit and looked strong and calm. Everyone expected him to be angry. But he wasn't. He said, "I didn't fire anyone. They did that themselves. I just stood up for 2 people who told the truth." He pointed to Maya and Jamal. This is real leadership, not pretending to be perfect but choosing to do the right thing. Then, The Rock shared a big surprise. He started a new program called WING, which stands for With Integrity, Not Games. It was a global training project that would teach people how to treat others with respect. It would start with airlines but later help hotels, police, and more. And guess who would lead it? Maya and Jamal. Everyone clapped loudly. Later that night, Maya sat across from The Rock and sipped her tea. She was still surprised to be sitting with such a famous person. "You could have embarrassed them in public," she said. "Why didn't you?" The Rock smiled and replied, "Because true justice isn't about revenge. It's about showing people how to behave when they think no one's watching." Far away, Veronica sat alone in her apartment. No phone calls. No job. She kept thinking about what she did wrong. She didn't just ignore a man's dinner tray, she ignored the chance to do the right thing. 6 months have passed since that flight. But something amazing happened. Wing had grown into a big success. What started as a response to one bad flight became a worldwide training and leadership program. Now, airlines, cruise ships, hotels, and even police departments were using Wing. The program taught one important lesson: people first, ego last. And at the heart of it all was The Rock. He wasn't just a movie star anymore. He was a symbol. When companies made new training manuals, they would ask each other, would this pass the Rock test? But not everyone has learned. One day, The Rock boarded another plane, a red-eye flight from Tokyo to New York. It was a different airline, trying to be cool and fancy. They promised him a vegan meal and quiet boarding so cameras wouldn't bother him. At first, everything seemed fine. Smiles, a fresh cabin, sparkling drinks. But then, something felt wrong. No one greeted The Rock properly. No one helped with his bag. Then, when dinner came, the passenger next to him got a yummy salmon meal with dessert. But The Rock got a cold wrap with soggy lettuce and a broken fork. On the box, someone had written, "plant-based," in marker. The Rock looked surprised. "Excuse me," he said calmly to the flight attendant. "I think I got the wrong meal." The flight attendant said, "No, sir. That's what was on your profile." But that wasn't true. The Rock's team had carefully sent his meal request with allergy info days ago, and they got confirmation. The Rock knew it. So did the airline. It felt just like Flight 778. But now, the world knows how The Rock dealt with disrespect. Back at Wing's headquarters in Los Angeles, an alert popped up. DJ, in-flight issue. Tokyo Flight 661. Monitor and log. Wing staff started checking live reports. 3 passengers had already posted comments. 2 of them said, "Something weird is happening in first class." They're ignoring The Rock. On the plane, The Rock quietly took out his phone and opened the new Wing Recorder app. It was a special tool to record things for training. He spoke calmly. "Flight 661. Wrong meal given. Smirking by staff. Low respect. Request full review." Then, he leaned back in his seat. He wasn't angry. He wasn't scared. He was ready. When the plane landed 5 hours later, The Rock stayed calm. He let others get off first. Then, he walked up to the gate where airline bosses and wing staff were waiting. He handed them a folder. Inside were notes from the flight, pictures of the bad meal, proof of his real request, and even quotes from other passengers. Then he said, "Your crew didn't pass the wing test. I think they all need new training." The airline's VP looked shocked and asked, "Are you making a complaint?" The Rock pointed to the VP's badge. It had the Wing logo. "I'm reminding you what that badge stands for," he said. The next morning, the crew was suspended. The airline said sorry in public. They also created a new way for passengers to share their flight experiences. But The Rock didn't post about it. He didn't brag. He didn't have to. Because now, people posted for him. One person said online, "The Rock doesn't throw punches anymore. He just makes the world punch itself when it forgets how to act right." 3 weeks later, The Rock got a special invitation. The United Nations wanted to honor him, not as a movie star, but as a global leader. The ceremony was in Geneva, Switzerland. Leaders, CEOs, and famous people came from all over. The Rock didn't wear a tuxedo. He wore a plain black suit and a silver wing pin. When he stepped on stage, people clapped loudly. But he didn't let the moment be about him. "I'm thankful," he said. "But don't clap for me." Then he turned to the side. The spotlight followed. Out walked Maya, Jamal, and a group of new wing students from all around the world, young people from places where chances were rare. "These are the heroes," The Rock said. "The ones you don't see. The ones who clean up messes. The ones who do the right thing, even when no one is filming." He paused. "Wing started because I didn't get a meal. But now, it's about never letting anyone go without respect again." Then came one final surprise. The Rock said he would pay for the first 1,000 hires into Wing's next program, Wing Elevate. It would help train people from underprivileged backgrounds and give them real jobs with real promotions. The crowd went wild. Reporters wrote stories. Social media exploded. And within 2 days, 20 major companies joined the program. The Rock had done it again. Not by yelling, not by fighting, but by standing strong, staying kind, and helping others rise. Later that evening, a kind and smart reporter sat down with The Rock to ask him some questions. The room was quiet. The Rock was calm. The reporter asked him, "Do you feel like you proved your point?" The Rock took a sip of water. He smiled and said, "I didn't do it to prove anything. I did it because next time someone gets treated unfairly on a plane, I want there to be a helper who knows what fairness Maya looks like." Far away, in a small town in Nevada, a high school student named Noah was watching that interview on his phone. Noah was a quiet boy who worked part-time washing dishes. He didn't have a passport and never traveled far. But after hearing The Rock's words, something changed. Noah felt inspired. He went to the website for a program called Wing Elevate. He clicked Apply. Just like that, his journey began. 6 months later, Wing Elevate had trained over 2,400 new helpers, like Noah, in 17 countries. This new program became a big symbol of hope, fairness, and second chances. The new workers were kind and strong. Some became team leaders, and others even opened small training places in their towns. But one student stood out the most, Noah Reyes, the dishwasher from Nevada. He had no fancy degree, no big connections, and no experience. But he had something special. He had a good heart, honesty, and the courage to do the right thing. After 18 weeks of training, Noah got his first job. He was placed on a flight from Paris to Chicago. It was called Flight 221. It was a big international flight, with fancy seats and lots of important passengers. Noah was nervous, but ready. He was told to help in row 2, which included seats 2A, 2B, and 2C. His job was to watch and learn from the team leader named Ariana. She had worked on airplanes for 14 years. At first, everything went great. The plane took off. Noah checked everyone's seat belts. He helped a nervous passenger. He even picked up someone's dropped earbud with a kind smile. But after about 3 hours in the air, things started to feel different. A man sitting in seat 2B was wearing an expensive watch and a fancy jacket. He didn't smile. He didn't say please or thank you. He snapped his fingers at Noah and said, "Hey, tell the lady in 2A to stop leaning her seat back. I'm trying to work." Noah politely said, "I can ask her, sir. But the seat is hers, and she can lean back unless we're eating or there's turbulence." The man didn't like that. He glared at Noah. "So you're just going to let her block my laptop? Do your job." Before Noah could answer, Ariana came over. She stepped in quickly and whispered to Noah, "Let it go. People like him, you'll never win." Noah nodded, but deep inside, he felt something wasn't right. A few minutes later, The same man started yelling at the woman in seat 2A. She was a young black woman. He told her she was rude and disrespectful just for reclining her seat. She looked upset and quietly sat up straight without saying anything. She didn't argue. She didn't say a word. Noah saw everything. He saw her silence. He saw her sadness. And he saw Ariana walking away like nothing happened. Noah took a deep breath. He went to the back of the plane, into the kitchen area. He pulled out a small card from his pocket. It had the Rock's quote on it: "When you see disrespect, you have two choices, explain it or end it." Noah knew what he had to do. He walked back to 2A, knelt down beside the woman and said kindly, "Ma'am, I want to say sorry. You did nothing wrong. You can recline your seat if you want. I can help you make it comfortable again." The woman looked surprised. "No one's ever said that to me on a flight." Noah smiled gently. "People should have." Then Noah turned to the man in 2B and said, "Sir, I'm going to ask you respectfully to treat others kindly, just like how you want to be treated." The man raised an eyebrow. "Is that a threat?" Noah stayed calm. "No, sir. It's just our rule." Noah used his little phone to send a message to the captain. He wrote, "Passengers in 2B are being rude." I wrote it down. "I won't make it worse unless he does something else." The captain read the message and smiled. "He's one of ours," he said proudly. When the flight landed in Chicago, Noah waited until everyone got off. He walked out last. No spotlight. No cheer. Just him doing the right thing. But at the gate, the woman from seat 2A was waiting for him. She tapped his arm and handed him a folded note. Noah opened it. It said, "You made me feel like I belonged up there. Thank you for standing taller than the clouds." He didn't say anything. Just put the note in his pocket. That evening, The Rock got a message on his special Wing app. It said, "Reyes from Flight 2121 helped a passenger. Stayed calm. Protected her. Didn't yell. Handled it like a leader. You'd be proud." The Rock read it. And for the first time that day, he smiled. 2 days later, something amazing happened. The woman from seat 2A, her name was Imani Rivers, wrote a blog post. It was called, "The Flight Attendant Who Protected Me Without Saying a Word." She had never written a blog before. But she wanted to share what Noah did. "He didn't yell. He didn't shame anyone," she wrote. "He just made me feel like I mattered. And in first class, that's rare." She ended the post like this. "I don't know his full name. But if you know the wing trainee with short curls and a calm voice from Flight 2121, please tell him thank you." The post went viral. That means millions of people read it. People from the airline saw the details and realized it was Noah. Wing Elevate quietly shared the post. People from all over praised Noah, even if they didn't know his name yet. The Rock saw it too. He read it twice. Then he smiled again and picked up the phone. "Get me his schedule," he said. "Whose schedule?" his assistant asked. "The kid who didn't flinch," The Rock said with a grin. 2 weeks later, Noah was sent to Wing's headquarters in Los Angeles. He was told he would help with new recruit training. He walked into a room, looking neat in his best shirt. But the room was empty, except for one man standing at the back. It was The Rock. He was leaning on the wall, smiling like a proud coach. Noah froze. "You've got to be kidding me," he said. "Nope," The Rock said, laughing. "Not kidding." He clapped Noah on the shoulder. "Been reading about you, Matt." Noah chuckled nervously. "I thought I was just here for training." "You were," The Rock said. "But you ended up training the whole world." They sat and talked for an hour. The Rock mostly listened. Noah talked about being scared. about growing up fencing small, about wanting to do the right thing without making people feel bad. The rock Finmaya asked, "Why did you step in that day?" Noah looked down. Then he said, "Because I saw myself in her. The old me, the one who stayed quiet. And I thought, if someone like me doesn't speak up, who will?" The rock nodded. "That's what leadership looks like," he said. "Not loud, but strong." Then he smiled. "And I have a special offer for you." That week, Wing announced a brand new job, Wing Global Youth Liaison and Ethics Educator. The job was to help teach young workers how to stay calm, be kind, and do what's right. The first person to get the job? Noah Reyes. His first task? Create a new leadership class with The Rock. Meanwhile, Imani, the woman from 2A, was also invited to help. She joined a group to make sure no one in first class ever feels ignored again. On her first day, she brought a framed photo of the note she gave Noah. It reminded her how small kindness can change the world. 1 year later, a huge event happened in Singapore. It was called the Wing Global Summit. People from 48 countries came. Leaders, workers, helpers, and heroes. Over 10,000 people filled the big hall. And 70 million more watched from home. The stage looked like a runway. Lights glowed on the floor. A big screen showed words in many languages. Above the stage, it said, "Respect doesn't fly itself. It takes hands, hearts, and open eyes." Everyone waited for The Rock to come out. But the first person to walk on stage was Noah Reyes. He wore a gray suit, a shiny pin, and walked with calm confidence. He stood tall, just like he did on the plane. When the room went quiet, he began. "A year ago, I was scared to speak up. I thought I might get in trouble. But when I looked at the woman in seat 2A, I remembered what it feels like to stay quiet. And I decided, that silence ends with me." Behind him, the screen lit up with pictures. Wing graduates in uniforms, young kids being mentored, Imani's blog post, and Noah Ninoang beside her seat with kindness in his eyes. Noah said, "What changed my life wasn't a law or a million likes. It was a quiet decision, to help someone I didn't even know, because it was the right thing to do." He smiled. The Rock taught us that you don't have to yell to shake the ground. So to the people in the back rows, in the kitchens, on the night shifts, and in the quiet places, you belong in first class too. And we're going to make room for you. The crowd stood up and clapped loudly. Cheers filled the room. Backstage, The Rock watched in the shadows. Someone asked him, "Aren't you going out?" He shook his head. "This isn't my flight anymore," he said. He's the pilot now. That night, Noah Reyes's name was shared all over the world. Imani, sitting in the front row, wiped away her tears. And Wing received 3 times more applications the next morning. The final picture on the big screen showed seat 1A, The Rock's old seat. On it was a folded napkin. Written across it in big letters, "Justice takes off when someone decides not to sit still." If you liked this story, tell me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun adventures and mysteries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.